Are you ready for the next video in our Rapid Authoring Tool Evaluation series? Well, today we're going to talk all about Adobe Captivate, so keep watching. Hi guys, I'm Vanessa, and I help aspiring instructional designers and e-learning developers get off of the sidelines and get into the L&D game. And on this channel, we talk about instructional design, e-learning development, learning and development, as well as business and freelance and all things in between. So the first installment of the series, we talked all about Articulate Storyline and Articulate 360. And today what we're going to talk about is Adobe Captivate. And this one is near and dear to my heart. It is the tool that made me fall in love with e-learning development, even though you probably can't catch me trying to use it anymore. But I do, most of my projects are storyline based that are for e-learning development, but there are times here and there that I do need to use Adobe Captivate. And there are some really great features about it, so we're gonna dig into it now. So let's start with the good. And one of the really great things about Adobe Captivate, and it really knocks out the rest of the rapid authoring tools, and its ability to create really advanced simulations and interactions. You can even do virtual reality 360 imaging through Adobe Captivate. This is something that Articulate Storyline is not in yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's coming in the future. So it's definitely something that takes Adobe Captivate to the next level. And I actually did just have a customer call me looking for some work using that the VR and the 360 imaging through Captivate. So it's definitely something that people are looking at, especially as we are now in this virtual world where we need to be a little bit more creative of how we train and definitely really specialize in certain industries. It is by far and none really great for advanced software simulations. It can do some really complex things. With its advanced actions window, it really just, Captivate really knocks that out of the park with the advanced software simulations. One of the really great things about Adobe Captivate when you are creating software simulations is that you can have multiple versions of what you're recording. So if you want a demo version where it's just a demonstration, and you want a try it mode where the learner practices in a guided way, then you can create those two types of simulations in one. So it really maximizes your time by reutilizing that same content, just either adding call-outs and highlights, adding the hotspots for you, or eliminating those depending on the mode that you are selecting. So the cost is another really big benefit about Adobe Captivate. It costs maybe $35 for the month, and it is something that is month to month. So if you're a freelancer and you just want to pick up Adobe Captivate just so that you can get a feel for the system, or if you do the free trial and then you want to continue on learning and you need like another couple of weeks or another month or two, you can pay for that, month or two, and just a month-to-month subscription that you then cancel, just like your Netflix, although who cancels Netflix anymore? So the cost is definitely something that makes Adobe Captivate very attractive, especially for freelancers. Like I mentioned in my other video, the yearly fee for for Articulate 360 really makes it hard for freelancers to justify that cost or make them feel good about spending that money, but having it just be $35 a month, it makes it very simple. The only thing I have to tell you, and it's a big freelancing finance tip, is to make sure you're doing an audit of your monthly bills and you're making sure that you're turning off that subscription if you don't truly need it. So that way you're not getting charged $35 a month for something that you're not using. Not saying it's something that, I may have done once or twice, but just saying, I would just double check that. So now let's talk about the things that are some things you want to consider if you are going to go down the Adobe Captivate path. The learning curve, it's steep. It is definitely not a out of the box, able to figure it out on your own type system. It takes tutorials. It takes time to learn it, and it's not something that you'll pick up as quickly through, just by trial and error. It's definitely something you can do. And it's something that I was able to do, through the tutorials that they had. I was able to self-teach myself a lot of things in Captivate, but to really be able to do the advanced triggering, advanced interactions, and really create some complex scenarios and e-learning modules, if that's what you need to do, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some training, and it's going to take probably some years off of your life.
It's been 84 years.
I'm just kidding. But it's definitely not as easy to just pick up and pull out a really amazing product. Not saying that it isn't possible, but just be aware that the learning curve is a little steep. And if you're someone that is not so tech savvy, I would definitely take that into consideration if this is the first rapid authoring tool that you are looking to pick up to learn for a project. I would actually recommend to a lot of freelancers to pick up Articulate Storyline, learn that, and then take a project that you created in Articulate Storyline and try to create it in Adobe Captivate. And that'd be a really great way for you to pick up how to use Adobe Captivate in a way that is a little bit quicker and isn't as discouraging in the beginning, because I think that Adobe Captivate for a beginner can definitely be something that is a little bit discouraging because it is complex to use, to do a couple of the things that are so simple to use in Storyline. So I would definitely pick up Storyline first and then go to Captivate if it's a tool that you want to pick up to learn. So with that, the interface is just not intuitive. The user interface could use a lot of work. Frankly, it's so outdated. I mean, it does not look modern at all when I open it up. It's had basically the same look and feel for quite a few years. I mean, it looks pretty similar to when I first started using it back in 2010. What was I doing in 2010? Was that the Laguna Beach years? No, that was like 2004. That was like the hills. What was that time? Yeah. 10 years? No. Anyway, so I would definitely say the user interface is not something that is totally up to date and could definitely use some improvement there. And it's something that you definitely expect a little bit more out of from a rapid authoring tool vendor, especially knowing that there is a product out there like Articulate Storyline that is so user-friendly and easy to use. You'd want to see some improvements in those areas just to make it a little bit easier for your average freelancer to pick up, or your average instructional designer that's getting thrown into e-learning development, because now we're doing it all. Like I said earlier, creating interactions is a lot more complex. So there are things that I can do in Storyline, these if-then statements, and I'm not talking like crazy, right? So if they click on this, it should go to this screen. If you click on that, it should go to that screen. It is very simple and easy to see how to create all of those things right there, right next to the slide that I'm working on. And on the other side, I see the scene, so I could kind of see where everything is going. With Captivate, that is not as simple. To create these kind of branches really does take a little bit of work. And I just hate that I can't see it all at one time. And so I would definitely recommend thinking about that and kind of how complex your scenarios are going to be, or how complex your e-learning is going to be or need to be before you hone in on Adobe Captivate being your tool of choice. So this one might just be me. I mean, I know it's not just me because I've talked about it with other instructional designers, but it's kind of a pet peeve of mine. But I just don't find the graphics to be as crisp or, as nice looking as Storyline. I don't know. Just adding like some of the call outs and the highlights, like it just kind of feels dated, maybe because a lot of the ones that are already in the system that are built in have been in there since I first started using Captivate, and I just see a lot of it over and over again. So it just kind of looks dated to me, and I don't know, there's a graininess to it that I'm just surprised is there for a tool that's supposed to be for e-learning and for online learning and for media development. Like, I just feel that the graphics need to be a little bit better in Captivate. So that's definitely not it's something that's surprising, and you could definitely tell a difference. And for example, for one of my clients, we were working on 2 projects together. She's project manager and, a learning and development lead. And we were working on 2 projects simultaneously, one in Storyline and one in Captivate. And I sent her the one in Storyline, I sent her the one in Captivate, and she was like, oh, yeah, that doesn't look as good. And they weren't heavily complex. They weren't really that different. They were both software simulations. It was just, it was the same system but different clients that were using it. And so it was just surprising to both of us that Captivate doesn't have that just better. It was just the media wasn't as rich as we feel like it should be. And so my last con is kind of a big one for me. It is the community. So while I think that the community, there is a great Adobe community, it's not as great as the Articulate community. And it was a lot harder for me to go out, find tutorials, find resources, and I just find that the Articulate community, there is just a lot more robust of a community, and I put in a question and I get an answer right away. And I just don't see that comparison. So I definitely think that the Adobe side could use a little bit more, I don't know if they mean like more promotion on their community or just like a refresh on their community to make it more widely known and widely available. But I definitely everyone talks about the Articulate community. Everybody talks about the Articulate challenges, and I just don't see the same for that. And that's a shame because I think that it would be really cool if Adobe did some challenges, right, in Captivate, and it would get people to practice it more. So definitely recommend if they could do that. It's just stellar, really cool. So my verdict, I'm kind of in the middle. I'm a little neutral on this one. I would say now where I am in my business, you can't find me trying to touch Captivate too much. But that doesn't mean that I don't, and that doesn't mean that I wouldn't necessarily, and that doesn't mean that I don't think it's something that someone should learn in the future. I just would not let that be your authoring tool of choice. Every time I see someone new coming out of the gate, they always ask about which rapid authoring tools to use, and I always recommend Storyline. Why? Because it's fast and easy for someone to pick up and use and come out with a nice looking product in a few weeks. You won't get that necessarily with Captivate. You actually may get discouraged, and it's really going to take a toll on your mental health and your ability to continue striving and moving forward in the beginning of your freelancing career. So I just don't think that you need to open yourself up to that feeling and that that frustration. If you don't have to, if there's another tool that you can use that will be a little bit easier for you to use and will build you up a little bit faster. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't learn it at some point. Even just download a trial, maybe pay for it for a couple of months just to get get a feel for it, get some project or two under your belt with it, just so that you have those things in your back pocket, because it is really nice when I do some consultation work as a freelancer and as a consultant, when I work with these organizations and their learning department, and we talk about, okay, you guys want to get into rapid authoring, you guys want to get into e-learning, let's talk about the different tools that you can use, and I can confidently talk about multiple because I've used all of them. If I haven't used all of them, then it's hard for me to really talk about what I think is the best for that team. And then I know if I'm talking to a team of newbies, for example, I used to work with a Department of Human Services, and I used to work in that, with the training department there. And these are social workers that were really good social workers, and they moved them over to the training department, and they were never instructional designers. They didn't know how to use rapid authoring tools, and they were using Captivate, and they just didn't want to create e-learning because they didn't want to use Captivate because it was very difficult for them. I showed them Articulate Storyline, and it was four of them that were learning how to create online courses, and they were rocking and rolling with courses, right away, and it built that confidence, and it gave them more. What's the word that I'm looking for? It gave them more buy-in into this process that online training could work, because they were very stuck on instructor-led training, classroom training. That's the number one. But once they were able to create some e-learning for themselves, that was really great and impactful, and it didn't take them too long to learn. They really gravitated towards it, and they really bought into the whole e-learning process. So it definitely is helpful to know these tools and to kind of know them a little bit well, so they were able to speak to them and see who is your, when I'm consulting, I'm looking at that team. So I knew that team wasn't going to be able to handle Captivate any longer. So I recommended Storyline. There are teams that I work with that have e-learning developers, or have, not necessarily learning developers, but they have more graphics people, they have more IT people, people that are a little bit more tech savvy that I'm like, well, depending on what you want to do, you could definitely handle Captivate. Just know it's going to take a little bit longer to learn, and they make that choice for themselves. So I think you should leave a comment down below and let me know what you think about Captivate. And I also want to know which authoring tool you want to learn more about next. So are you ready to jumpstart your career in freelancing and instructional design? Well, click the link in my bio for my 6-step blueprint to L&D success. Friends, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.